Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We're going to get started with Hine Matov, how good it is for us all to be here together tonight. So please join me. Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine Matov 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 umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov Yadadai dadadadadadai Hine matov Yadadai dadadadadadai Hine matov umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov Yadadai dadadadadadai Hine matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine matov umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. We're going to continue welcoming in Shabbat with another favorite, Matovu. How pleasant are your tents, O Jacob. Our dwelling place here tonight is all the more so pleasant for us being here together. So you'll find that in your Siddur on page 4, and we'll share the screen for you so you can see the words.
Thank you, Cantor. Thank you so much. That was lovely. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. I was getting a hard time getting that out. And good Shabbos. It's great to see everybody tonight. My goodness, it's so good to be together this evening. We hope you've experienced moments of goodness this week, some moments of goodness, some blessings this week, some moments of peace and wholeness. And may tonight be such a moment. Our day of renewal, our day of hope is here. Shabbat is here. This Shabbat, we're going to invite in moments of sacredness, little moments of joy, little moments of warmth and love and friendship. And we're going to do a lot of that with song and with prayer and with story and teaching. And let's share in a wonderful Shabbat song that our ancestors back in the village, the city of Sfat in Israel, they composed this song as they went to greet the presence of Shabbat as the sun set amongst the hills. And they were dressed in white like a groom, like a bride, to welcome Shabbat. So we turn now to page 5 for Lecha Dodi.
So this particular melody for Lecha Dodi is an original, and I think I've done it here before, but if you're not familiar with it, I'm sure you'll catch on. Please join me for Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likar kala b'nei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi likar kala b'nei Shabbat lekabela. Do that again. Lecha Dodi likar kala b'nei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi likar kala b'nei Shabbat lekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmianu elam yuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'lithilah. Lecha Dodi likar kala b'nei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi likar kala b'nei Shabbat lekabela. If you're so inclined at this moment to stand up and face the door to greet the Sabbath bride, I invite you to do so. Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, toch emunei yam segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Lecha Dodi likar kala b'nei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi likar kala b'nei Shabbat lekabela.
Well, thank you so much, Cantor. What a beautiful way to bring in Shabbat. And I love how Cantor Alyssa did that very subtly and humbly and original. I don't know if y'all caught that. That means she composed that Lecha Dodi, and that was beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, we now turn to page 9, everybody. We come to our Sabbath candle lighting, and we are so honored to welcome our poets in residence, Arlene and Dan Golden. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos, Arlene, Dan.
Rabbi, they are not lighting candles.
All
They
right.
told Maggie no, apparently, because I just called Arlene, and they
Aha.
are on service with Dan's sister back east.
Okay. All right. Well, we are thinking of them and their sister back east, and I'm wondering if anybody has the candles at the ready and would like to do that. Is that the white? Is that Chloe raising your hand? Hi, sweetie. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I see the whole family. Hi, guys. Hi, Stella. Hi, Josie. Here's Rachel. Hi, guys. Oh, all right. Dad is ready.
Don't light the house on fire. Die, candles. I got it.
There you go.
This other one keeps going out.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, White family. It's so great to see you all. Hey, I just saw Animal's tail walk by.
That's our doggy Nola.
That was cool how that happened.
That's
Boy,
great, especially since this week's parsha involves animals.
that's true. That is true. It's Bashir. It is meant to be. Well, thank you guys so much. And looking at the beautiful White family, it reminds us that each and every Shabbat, what a great tradition we have as we gather with our families near and far, and we share in the Sabbath family blessing that you can find on the bottom of page 9.
May God bless you and keep you. May He shine His face upon you and grace you. May He lift His presence unto you and grant you peace. May God bless you and keep you. May she shine her face upon you and grace you. May she lift her presence unto you and grant you peace. And grant you peace.
Shabbat Shalom, dear friends. Shabbat Shalom. Well, let's turn now to page 13 in our prayer booklet. Page 13, we come to this prayer of gratitude for the miracles that surround us in the world and in our lives. And as you know how we like to do this, we've got 2 paragraphs. We like to do this call and response back and forth antiphonally. Do we have 2 people who would like to lead this prayer of gratitude? I'm looking around the Zoom room. Give me a second. We've got so many wonderful people here. I can't see everybody at once. Do we have any takers? All right. All right. People are sort of in a receiving mode tonight. That works. Whoa, Dora Fine. I see Dora. Hi, Dora. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm on my phone, so I
That
can't guarantee the
works.
quality.
Hey, I love your hair at Cantor. That
Oh.
sort of fits in with our theme tonight as well.
Very true.
You've got a
Yes,
variety
with the
of beautiful
rainbow and
colors.
everything. Yep.
Yeah.
Bobby's ready to share it with Dora.
Oh, is that Maggie would like to do it with Dora? Wonderful. That would be
Okay.
great. So Dora, will you take the first paragraph, and Maggie,
Mhm.
we're honored to have you do the second.
Could we possibly have it popped up because I'm not? Thank you very much. Okay. I'll do the first part and Maggie's doing the second, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We thank you, God, for the gift of life. We thank you for the miracle of each new day, the sunrise and sunset, moon and the stars. We thank you for the blessings of family and friends, for all these miracles in our world.
Adonai our God, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks.
And our thanks to you, Maggie and Dora. Thank you so much for leading us in that. And as we turn now to page 14 in our prayer book, we come to the affirmation of our faith, the Shema. We join together.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
And we turn now to page 15, and we follow in the Torah. Right after the Shema is the V'ahavta. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Talia Shavit Weiner and Hannah. Is it Talia and Hannah both tonight? There. Hi,
Talia.
Talia.
It's gonna be Talia.
All right, Talia. Hi. Oh, and you're wearing a Roots shirt.
Mhm.
Is that for the rock band or the musical group Roots?
No, it's a Canadian brand.
Oh, it's a Canadian band. Okay.
Oh
'Cause
no, it's a Canadian brand. It's
Oh, Canadian brand. Oh, okay. Very cool. How are you?
I'm good.
Good, good. How's school going?
Good.
Great. Talia's in the 8th grade, for those of you who don't know, and we're so honored. You're our returning champion. You did the Ve'ahavta a few weeks back. Was it weeks? Was it months? It's all a blur to me, but you've done it recently. You did it so beautifully. Thank you for leading us again in the Ve'ahavta. Great. So whenever you are ready, you're going to lead and we're going to sing with you, Talia, whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Thanks.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך וקשרתם להיות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים ללכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתיתם מארץ מצרים, לחיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Thank you so much, Talia. That was wonderful. That was so great. Yashar kochech. That means may your strength continue. Thank you so much for doing this, Talia, and please come back anytime and lead us in worship. You've got such a beautiful voice and smile and spirit, and thank you again. We appreciate it. And best to your whole family. Best to everybody.
So actually, where Talia just read reminds us of the next prayer we're about to do. That God, Asher Hotzeti Etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim, right? Bringing us forth from Egypt. And we have this daily reminder in our liturgy. We have the Micha Mocha, which was our Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea. And it definitely makes sense it feels like it makes sense to do this today in light of this week's parasha because of the flood. So both, there's a kind of a parallel there, I think, of redemption, that Noach and his family were redeemed from the flood, and our people were redeemed from the water, from Egypt, and from the waters that parted. So this is Micha Mocha, which you'll find in your Siddur on page 16. If you'll join me with Micha Mocha, and we'll see if we can put those words on the screen for you.
That was a really joyful Micha Mocha. That's the way to do it. We can imagine our ancestors dancing in joy with great happiness and gratitude as they marched through the Reed Sea toward liberation, toward freedom. Yeah, so what a great Torah portion this week. The Torah portion, which, by the way, I think, I'm going to go out on a limb here. We've got a number of our boys and girls with us tonight. I'm going to suggest that amongst our Jewish children, this has got to be one of the best stories, one of the favorite stories that we have in Judaism, right? The kids love the story of Noah's Ark and the animals and the rainbow, and I imagine, too, our Christian brothers and sisters, I imagine they love the story too. So I love it so much as well. I've got some show and tell. Can you all see this? This is, yes, it's good, Kendra. This is a little Noah's Ark tzedakah box. So you can put tzedakah right there in the top. You see the word tzedakah. So there's a little Noah's Ark. I also have if you recognize what this is, it's a chamsa. Look, it's a rainbow chamsa with the animals underneath it. So for good luck, I have that. I have a little Noah's Ark. And I don't know what you call this, Cantor, but you lift it up and you can like put little tchotchkes inside. Do you know what you call that?
I don't know. I think a tchotchke box sounds
box.
totally appropriate to me.
Exactly. So it's a little Noah's Ark tchotchke box. And not to be outdone, Here's an even little tinier Noah's Ark tchotchke box that you can, I don't know what you can put in here. Guess you can put in I don't know, a penny or something. So I've got that. And, oh, I bet we've got some boys and girls here tonight who, when they had their baby naming at Temple Sinai, they received a baby naming or a child naming certificate that's got a, you can't see it really good. It's got a rainbow. Sorry about that. It's got a rainbow. It's got Noah's Ark on the bottom. Oh, can you, Jason, can we see that? There they are. So there are the animals. There's the rainbow. There's the Noah's Ark. Look, there are llamas. So we love Noah's Ark. And I'll tell you what's great about the Noah's Ark story. It's not just for kids. It's also for adults. And it's for all of us, kids of all ages. So I wanted to share with you tonight, sort of continuing this theme of great stories in the book of Genesis. We talked about the creation of the world last week and Adam and Eve and what happened in the garden. So Jason, if you will put up our Noah's Ark handout that I've created for everybody tonight.
Just 1 minute, Rabbi.
Take your time, sir. There it is. Look at that. I found a really good picture in Google Images. That, look at that. We got the rainbow, we got the animals, the birds. Is that a lion climbing off the plank with a tiger? Pretty cool. Oh, yep. Oh, and a lion and a lioness, I guess, right next to the monkeys. And the cows are looking out over the top with the, is that a toucan?
Yes, those are toucans.
Toucans. All right. Hungry for Fruit Loops for Oneg now. So there we go. So Jason, let's zoom on out. So let's go to the left side of the page, Jason. So in the book of Genesis, this takes up 6, 7, 8, 9, 4 chapters in the book of Genesis. And I just want to read a little bit and then we can discuss it. And I encourage you to put stuff in the chat box. Cantor Alyssa's wearing her Noah's Ark t-shirt that she likes to wear with elephants marching on it. And you mentioned you got some Noah's Ark earrings too, or some rainbow earrings. So let's take a look at Genesis 6, verse 5. The eternal, or God, saw how great was human wickedness on earth, how every plan devised by their mind was nothing but evil all the time. It was bad. People were in a bad way. By the way, it's pretty remarkable. Last week's Torah portion talked about God created everything and 7 times said how good creation was, and it was very good when human beings were created. And then 10 generations later, in the genealogy of the Torah, just 10 generations later, everybody's acting really bad, and it's evil all the time. And look at verse 6. This is a remarkable verse. And the Eternal regretted making humans on earth, and God's heart was saddened. I love that. I mean, I'm sorry that God regretted making human beings back then because they were so bad to each other, but God's heart was saddened. Can't you just, have compassion for God? His creation has gone astray, and poor God is saddened. It's amazing that the Torah talks that way, that God has emotions. I'm going to throw out a fancy term for you all. It's a graduate school term. It's a seminary term. Anthropopathic. Anthropopathic. Anthro, like human being, like anthropology, the study of human beings. Pathic, emotions, feelings. God in the Torah is depicted, as described, as having human feelings. Already in verse chapter 6, God regrets, God feels sad. So anthropopathic, God has human feelings in the Torah. Makes God very relatable. It makes us, sort of can feel for God, just as God feels for us. So at verse 7, the Eternal said, I will blot out from the earth the people whom I created, people together with beasts, and with creeping things and birds of the sky, for I regret that I made them. So in case we missed it the first time, we want to feel God's regret, and that's why the flood happened according to the Torah. But then at verse 8, it gets hopeful. But Noah found favor with the Eternal. And then it goes on, this is the line of Noah. Noah was a righteous man. He was blameless in his age. Noah walked with God. What a beautiful expression. Noah walked with God. There are very few people in the Torah that's mentioned. Now, I have here, the excerpts of, and you guys know the story, right? 2 by 2, but also 7 by 7, by the way. There's, it says that there were also 7 sets of animals. So if you were keeping score last week, there are 2 versions of the creation of the world. There are also 2 versions of the Noah's and the flood story and the ark story. And one version is 2 by 2 and one version is 7 by 7. So, and by the way, the same writers that we saw last week, if you were here, one writer mentions 7 and another writer mentions 2 sets of animals. And those are woven together so seamlessly that you may not even catch it. But if you read Genesis 6, 7, 8, and 9 very closely, you will see that it's almost got 2 different versions of the story, but they've been edited together seamlessly. Okay, rainbow comes later down there, but I want to go to the top, Jason. Let's go back to the top, because this is what I want to get to. And again, we talked about last week, and just to recap in case you weren't here, and even if you were here, the way that Genesis 2 describes God formed human beings of the dust of the ground. God breathed into the eternal, breathed into Adam's nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Eve was not yet created yet in this version of the story, but God is breathing into Adam life. And then when Eve is created, right there at verse 8, Adam and Eve heard the sound of the eternal God moving about in the garden at the breezy time of day. Again, amazing. God is depicted as walking around a garden. So anthropopathic, God feels. Anthropomorphic, God is like takes human form. And you got a little bit of that with God moving about the garden. Again, very down-to-earth depiction of God. God is immanent. God is very much engaged in the world that God has created. And so much so that when Adam and Eve eat from the tree and they have to leave the Garden of Eden, they have to leave paradise, it says in verse 21, and Jason, if you're able to put your cursor there just in case people can't follow me out, there it is. The eternal God made garments of skins for Adam and Eve and clothed them because they were cold. So you've got God as a seamstress, very much caring for God's creation. So that's why God regrets and is saddened by people acting so poorly. So I want to stop there for a second and again, just spend a few moments appreciating this very almost human portrait of God that occurs in the Torah. God is the main character. If we want to talk about the Torah and the Bible as a literary creation, which it is, many have argued, and I would agree with them, that the Jewish Bible is probably the most well-known piece of literature and probably the greatest work of art from a literary standpoint in the Western culture, in Western civilization. So to appreciate the artistry of this depiction of God, there's a wonderful book called God, a Biography by, I believe, a Jesuit priest and a beautiful writer. If you ever get a chance to read God, a Biography by Jack Miles, it's exquisitely written, and he talks about the different aspects to God's personality that we see in these stories. God has personality, a very complex personality that is sort of human-like that we can relate to. So much so that, and Jason, let's put it up again for a second. I want to go back to that handout where God, if you go, I'm sorry, the top of the second column, God breathed into Adam's nostrils the breath of life. So talking about God's intimacy with human beings in the Torah and in the Bible, it says of Moses at the end of Deuteronomy, right at the end of the Torah, that Moses died sort of at the command of God is the translation, but peh is the word that's used, by the mouth of God. Moses died by the mouth of God. So our tradition says, the rabbis say, that when Moses died at 120 years of age, it was by a kiss from God. A mitat neshika, a kiss at the time of death. and God did that for Moses because of their close relationship. They knew each other panim el panim, face to face. And God was so fond of Moses, and Moses was afraid to die, that Moses died with a kiss from God. That is the intimacy that you have in Judaism between us and the divine. And Abraham Joshua Heschel, the great 20th century writer and philosopher, he wrote his PhD thesis at the University of Berlin. I feel like I'm throwing a lot of facts out there. I apologize, but I find it so fascinating, and I'm trying to weave it all together. But Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote many books, and I recommend each and every one to you. But his thesis at the University of Berlin was called The Prophets, and Cantor probably can do the German for it. In that thesis, he said one of the main teachings of the prophets about God, he used the expression divine pathos, right? Anthropopathic, divine pathos, divine feeling, divine emotion. And I want to quote from you from Rabbi Heschel's PhD thesis that was then became, you can find The Prophets on Amazon, you can find it online or at your bookstore. This is what Heschel said about the divine pathos. He said the prophets spoke of an inner life of God, of God's love and anger, God's mercy and disappointment, God's interests or participation in the fate of the people Israel and other nations, that God is very much concerned in our lives as individuals and as countries, as nations. God revealed God's self to the prophets in a specific state, says Rabbi Heschel of blessed memory, in an emotional or passionate relationship to Israel. God was personally concerned and even stirred by the conduct of God's people. And you can see God is stirred by the conduct here in the Torah of all the people who lived during the time of Noah. Their actions aroused God's joy, grief, or disappointment. God's attitude was not objective, detached, but subjective, personal. God was not only a judge, but a parent. Avinu Malkeinu, as we talked about last week and as we talked about during the holidays. God is like a parent and a sovereign. And then Heschel says God is the lover, engaged to God's people, who reacts to human life with specific pathos, signified in the language of the prophets in love, mercy, or anger. And we could go so far as to say not just the prophets, but in the Torah. God's love is expressed in Torah. God's mercy is expressed in Torah. God's anger is expressed in Torah. God's sadness is expressed in Torah. God's regret, all the feelings that we feel. The Torah speaks that way about God. So our tradition says that the Torah speaks in the language of humanity. So it's a powerful idea in Judaism. And in addition to talking about emotions, let's very quickly talk about one more thing in 2 minutes. So Jason, let's put the handout back up on the screen. So this Noah story and the flood and by the way, God's pathos, God sort of helping Noah, bringing Noah and his family into the ark, helping Noah bring the animals into the ark, caring for them, protecting them, making sure that these wonderful species are able to stay alive as God starts over with a new group of people. And of course, God, with the rainbow, says, I'm never going to do that again. So God sort of regretted having the flood. And God puts the rainbow in the sky to remind God to never again do anything like that, as it says there at the bottom of the first column. I have my covenant. I'm making a pact with the people of the earth, with Noah, Noah's family, and with the animals, and with the earth. God says, I'm making a covenant, a pact with you. It's the first brit, the first covenant, that I will never again do this, because God regretted doing that. So God is learning, God is growing. Again, very human aspects to God's personality at the beginning of the Torah. But lest you think this is just in Torah, take a look at the right side. These flood stories are, prolific. There are probably 4 or 5 or 6 flood stories from the ancient Near East. You have them from Mesopotamia, right, which is ancient Iraq and Turkey and Syria today. That was Mesopotamia. It was, it was modern day Iraq and Syria and Turkey and even Armenia. The Tigris and the Euphrates. It is said that the Noah's Ark landed on Mount Ararat, which was in Armenia when Armenia was a bigger country. Now it's Turkey. But take a look at these 2 flood stories that come before the Torah's version of it. The Epic of Gilgamesh, you may have heard of, 21st to 18th century Mesopotamia, and then the Atrahasis, also in Mesopotamia a few centuries later. They've got different versions of Noah. This first Noah, man of Shurupak, son of Ubartutu, I'm sure I'm butchering that. His name was Utnapishtim. He was the Mesopotamian Noah. Tear down your house, build a ship, give up possessions, seek your life, despise property, and keep your soul alive. Boy, sort of a very anti-materialistic thing. Aboard the ship, take thou the seed of all living things. The ship that thou shalt build, her dimensions shall be to measure, equal shall be her width and her length. So it was in the Epic of Gilgamesh that there was a flood story and a righteous person who took those animals in. Now I love this one. Take a look at Atrahasis. Atrahasis means exceedingly wise in ancient Akkadian or Babylonian or the language Sumerian. The land became wide, the people became numerous. The land bellowed like wild oxen. The God was disturbed by their uproar. Enlil was the God, heard their clamor and said to the great gods, oppressive has become the clamor of humankind. By their uproar they prevent sleep. I love it. For those of you like me who love their sleep, this was the reason. Not because they were wicked, they were waking up the gods. So the flood came because the gods needed their sleep. How amazing. So you have these flood stories in the ancient Near East, and I want to believe that the writer of this story, the 2 writers of the story in the Torah, knew these stories, the Epic of Gilgamesh and Atrahasis, and they did a Jewish version of it. So lest you think that you've got to be creative in the Torah, creativity comes in many forms. Even God created the world not out of nothing, but out of tohu vavohu. God created the world out of stuff, molded it into clay, from clay, according to the Torah. And so lest you think it's got to be created out of nothing, there's great wisdom and great creativity, even from other sources. So here I was hoping I could do this and it wasn't too lecture-like. I want to combine the heart and the head and with these 2 sort of approaches to the Noah's Ark story. So much more to say about that, but we'll save it for another day. Let us continue in our service together.
Thank you, Rabbi. So we're going to continue with Hashkivenu, our nighttime prayer for peace. We'll put the words on the screen for you as well, so you can sing along. Certainly, I guess it certainly does make sense in line with in the topic of the flood. Certainly, I mean, we always pray for peace and for shelter and protection, but of course, that's something that humankind desperately needed at the time, and the ark was that shelter and protection during that particular storm. But we'll put the words up for you, Hashkivenu. We'll put up actually the other words for that. Just give it a second.
1 second.
Here, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom העמידנו מלכנו לחיים, השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ושלום, מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים.
So it is in the peace of the night and the quiet of Shabbat, the peace and shalom of Shabbat. We spend a few moments now in our very own personal silent prayer and contemplation.
We'll continue now with Yehi L'Ratzon. May the words of our hearts in our private meditations be acceptable to God. And you'll find the words for that on page 22. Yehi L'Ratzon Imrei fi v'hayon libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Yehi L'Ratzon Imrei fi v'hayon libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Yehi L'Ratzon Imrei fi v'hayon libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri, tzuri v'goali.
as we do each and every Shabbat that we are together as a community of family and friends, we pray for people we know and love who are in need of healing, a healing of body and a healing of spirit. So we now turn to page 22 in our prayer booklet, page 22, and hopefully everybody has the chat box open as we now join in our Misha Berach prayer of healing.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
Well, at this time, we invite you to place in the chat box the names of people that you are thinking of this Shabbat who are in need of healing. Our prayer of healing is for them. It's for each and every one of them, and it's for all the folks listed on the Misha Berach page. It's for all the temple members listed on our Misha Berach page. This prayer of healing is for all the family members who we're thinking about tonight. And it is for all the friends and co-workers who are in need of healing as we continue our prayer of healing together.
Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha La'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shleima, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We pray that they are all healed. Well, when the Torah portion for Parashat Noach says that God remembered Noah and his family and the animals, that word to remember, Yizkor, like Yizkor, just as we remember our loved ones who have passed, and to say that the divine remembers, it's more than just calling to mind. Remembrance, when we say that the divine remembers, is that remembrance, that calling to heart and mind leads to action. Because when God remembers something in the Torah, there's an action that then follows, an action of divine pathos, of divine love or compassion, or a sense of justice or care and concern. And so too, we bring that divine level of care and concern and compassion and sympathy and kind action whenever we think of loved ones, when we recite Kaddish. It touches us in a way that leads to our goodness, in our taking in the lives of those we have loved, and through their goodness and their example, it inspires us to live the way that they lived. And that is true of everybody on our Kaddish list tonight, and everybody in our lives who has passed. So at this moment, as we remember those who have died recently, and at this time in seasons past, we remember, and our remembrance leads to following some of their beautiful actions. And so as we put their names up on the screen and talk about a model of beautiful action and behavior and spirit, tonight we remember our dear friend Larry Moskowitz, And we invite you to please rise as the name of a loved one is mentioned. We remember Larry, and we remember another beloved member of our temple community. We remember Rebecca Kaufman. And we remember Thad Schreibman and Howard Schwartz and David Bernstein, Stephen Strauss, Donald Allen Pocock, Susan Goldsmith, Cecilia Carpenter. Remember Alan Loybin, Patricia Jacobson, Florence Schwartz, Claire Cohen. We remember Peggy Nichols. We remember Lance Gershon, Simone Roman, and Debbie Blake. And for those who are observing Yahrzeit, the anniversary of the death of a loved one commemorated this week, we remember Ferdinand Barr. We remember Samuel Sheehan, Cheryl Wiltrout. We remember another beloved member of our community, Mark Allen, Sherman Zaks, Arcady Alex Kazoy. We remember Melvin Parnes and Selma Poland. We remember Barbara Ross, Bella Sang. We remember Rose Spiel, Pamela Summer, Philip Alexander, Aaron Hackle, Rabbi Moses Krellenstein, Frida Lippener, Sarah Mastro, Irving Schneider, and Lottie Sofa. And we invite you also to put the names of loved ones who have passed in the chat box, who you're thinking of tonight, who you're remembering as blessing, for an abiding blessing. As we think of all of them, we turn to page 24 in our prayer book and we rise together for the Kaddish prayer. Together we pray. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'alma divarach ilutei v'amlich malchutei. V'chaye chon v'yom echon v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudasha berichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all of us who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. And together we say, Amen.
Amen.
And please be seated, everybody.
As always, we conclude this part of the service with a prayer for peace. Oseh Shalom. Please join me. Oseh Shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Israel Aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen.
Thank you, Cantor. Friends, Cantor and I have been talking sort of during our professional staff meetings and as we prepared for the High Holy Days about adding those two words, Yoshvei Tevel, to our Kaddish together. Yoshvei Tevel means literally the dwellers of earth. And maybe now's the time to do it, Cantor. And so making a commitment to everybody now, and I'm going to remember for action. And that is that, Jason, we will put the Kaddish up from now on that includes those words Yoshvei Tevel, because our Kaddish is not just for Jewish people, it's for all good people, everyone who has blessed this world by their presence and who we remember for blessing. And the reason I say I want to do Yoshvei Tevel, Cantor, is because I think of the ark. The word for ark is a teva. So Tevel sounds like teva. So now's the time to do it. In honor of Parshat Noach, we're gonna add Yoshvei Tevel to our Kaddish together. So Jason, if you'll remind me that we're gonna put up a different Kaddish that includes those two words going forward. So there it is. Okay, thank you, Jason. Hey, we are so excited right now to welcome a wonderful member of our Temple Board of Directors. It is Zach Gershon, who is with us tonight and his family. Hey, Zach, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hi, Juliana. Hi, Jocelyn. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Hey, speaking of Adam and Eve, where is your Adam?
He's sleeping.
Sleeping. Like those gods in the Sumerian flood story. Very nice.
Yeah, he went to bed.
It's great to see you all.
Yeah, great to be here.
Yeah.
All right. Zach, we got a lot of fun stuff coming up.
We sure do. Well, so we'd like to thank tonight's service participants, Dan and Arlene Golden for candlelight. Oh, well, no, who did candle lighting tonight? We had a pinch.
So that was the White family. That was the White family.
Thank you for the pinch hit, White family. And then Talia and just Talia Shavit Weiner for leading the Ve'ahavta prayer. Tonight's virtual Oneg is sponsored by Martha Sensel in memory of Asher Fawcett, Elizabeth Murphy, and Eleanor Sensel. And coming up, Temple Sinai, we've got a packed week of events. Let's see, the Minyan and Torah study tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. We've got the Sisterhood's Hooked on Cookbooks book club on Sunday at 4 p.m. Social Actions Emotional Resiliency on Monday at 7 p.m. Rabbi's Spiritual Nourishment class on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Our Jewish film group's discussion of the film Zero Motivation on Wednesday at 6 p.m. And you can find full details and Zoom links for all of these in Sunday's TSG email blast. And Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Zach, well done, sir. Thank you. Boy, as you can see, we thought the high holidays were busy. Look at all this activity going on at Temple Sinai. And right, Cantor, in the weeks ahead, we keep the excitement, we keep the activity and Jewish experiences going. And by the way, I just want to mention, I don't know if you all caught the name, but if you'll recall, speaking of High Holy Days, I had mentioned during Yom Kippur morning, during my sermon, that we were going to start with a journey toward racial justice. And none other than Mr. Zach Gershon, our board of directors, this was his brainchild, that we're going to be doing this in the religious school. We're going to be doing this amongst our temple community in really taking an active role in helping to bring racial justice to our Black brothers and sisters here in our community and throughout America. And Zach is spearheading that. And I want to make a pitch right now. If racial justice is something you feel called to do right now, please reach out to Zach or reach out to me and let me know you would like to be on a committee to help Zach make that happen, because he can't do it all by himself. It takes a village. So let us know if you're interested in doing that. And Zach, we might be able to staff your committee right here and right now. I know Ruth Goldstein, who I think is on tonight. Ruth wants to get involved. And anybody else, if you want to help us journey towards racial justice, please contact Zach or me or Temple President Steve Abrams. What do you think, Zach? Does that work?
Absolutely. We'll take a village. I just put my email in the chat box, so anybody feel free to reach out to me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Zach. We appreciate it. Julianne, it's so great to see you.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. Have a great rest of Shabbat and weekend. And we're going to do Kiddush, and we've got, I'm not going to give it away, but an exciting closing song Cantor's going to do right after Kiddush.
I'll give you all a moment to grab your Kiddush cups if you don't have it nearby. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen l'chaim.
L'chaim.
So, as Rabbi mentioned, I do have a very special closing song for us all tonight. Being that we are in Parashat Noach, and we have God's promise that we won't have a repeat of the flood in the form of a rainbow, I thought, what better time to share a really beautiful song that I'm sure many of us know and love. Rainbow Connection, as made famous by our friend Kermit the Frog. So we'll put the words up on the screen for you all, and please, please sing along with us. Why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions. Rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep, and have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that call the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Some
Thank you, Cantor. Let's hear it for Cantor. That was wonderful. Ah, thank you so much for all your creativity and all your thoughtfulness, Cantor. This was Parshat Noach to remember. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. And thanks again to Jason and Susan if you're helping out. And thanks to everybody who helped out tonight. And Jason, why don't we open up the mics and everybody can wish each other a Shabbat Shalom, a good Yontif, and then we'll go to Oneg. Or I should say good Shabbos.
Good
Shabbat
Shabbos.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Sure.
Shabbat shalom.